Hey, what's this thing do? I get it. There's a snake in my boot.
Hey, everybody. Jimmy with the Triple C Collective here. I am ready to bring you a new co-host, Mr. Matthew Lee Murphy. Matt, come on and say hi.
Hello. Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me, man. Really excited to talk about movies with you here tonight. I didn't know that my name was tossed around so much here at Triple C Collective. So it's an honor. It's an honor, truly. Thank you.
Absolutely. And today we're going to be talking about a movie that has literally been, I don't know, probably tickling our brain since we saw it almost 30 years ago. I mean, basically, this movie was my birthday movie in 1995. This movie came out November 22nd, 1995. And we're talking about Toy Story, in case if we haven't buried the lead, my Sheriff Woody shirt, if that's not telling you enough, I'm talking about the greatness of Toy Story here. But this for sure was my 7th birthday movie in 1995. So with that being said, like I know I saw this in theaters with my cousin Mike, my cousin Nikki, Natalie, probably my sisters who would have been turning like 3 this coming like February of 96. I want to say we probably all would have seen it around Thanksgiving. Obviously, either that opening weekend, the 22nd, or like the next few days later on my birthday, which is the 26th of November. But how about yourself? Did you see this in theaters? Do you remember seeing it in theaters?
I don't know for sure. Part of me thinks that I did see it in theaters because I did the same thing. I did a movie every birthday from when I was younger. My birthday's at the end of December. So this would have been that birthday movie if that was a year that I would have done it. But I very vividly remember it being rented when it first came out. And I watched it all weekend long, just nonstop, watched it just on repeat. And my mom, when she went to return it, came back with a copy, but like she bought one at the video store. And so like then I own Toy Story and I just continued to watch it like that. So home video was where I really remember it. And I mean, like, I can't tell you how many times I watched this movie when I was younger, man. It was nonstop.
Right. The home video market, like we grew up, obviously, born in the late 80s, grew up throughout the 90s. Our like high school years are in the early aughts and stuff. So like the home video market, we worked at a video store at one point in our life. You worked at a few video stores at that at different points in our lives here, man. So like the idea of the home video market and watching this at home is on VHS, DVD, now getting it on a Blu-ray or a 4K and everything else that they got going on, streaming it on Disney Plus, whatever it is. This movie's just been around us, and it's crazy to think that this little itty bitty studio that nobody really heard of, or the studio that kind of really only made the shorts before kind of Disney movies, was coming out of the gate, pitching 100 miles an hour here. Like,
yep.
And this is Pixar's first, feature length film. As I said, they had done a ton of other shorts. We'll actually get to like you can see some of the names of their shorts later on in the movie and whatnot. It's really great. But so for this, animated movies just in general, like Toy Story, where does this stand for you? Is it the top 3, top 5 for you? Where does this kind of go overall for you?
I mean, I don't know if it would be like top 5 per se, but I will say it's probably the most important one, not necessarily like my favorite one. You know what I mean? There could be a difference there. It's like, I don't think any other animated movie has had the impact that Toy Story did on me. It changed the way that I kind of like watch movies because Pixar, they sprinkle Easter eggs through like everything, right? And as I became more of a movie fan, I started to pick up on that kind of stuff. And the hot streak of Pixar was just like unprecedented, man. Just like the movies that they released from Toy Story on, you can argue some aren't so great, but I mean, I would say for my money that from Toy Story all the way up to like Brave or Good Dinosaur, I would say is like the one objectively bad Pixar movie that I can think of. But other than that, everything leading up to that was like a banger in some way or another. So Toy Story was the beginning of that. It was the beginning of me kind of branching out from kids movies into a little bit more, because Toy Story really does kind of straddle that line between, it is a kids movie, but there's so much in it for everybody else. And I think that that's one of the key things that Toy Story did that was like really revolutionary, is it made a children's movie for everybody.
And you're absolutely right. Is that like even listening to like the special features as like what commentary track, like the name of this podcast is from that, is from the home video market of me not going to film school and just devouring special features and commentary tracks from different filmmakers and creators, writers, directors, everything, trying to figure out what they did to make me believe. Like the
Right.
one thing that Colin has always said is that it's so funny. He's like, dude, you just don't like believe in like movies and stuff, but like you believe in like the true magic of movies. And whether that's like they change you as a person, or like they make you believe that a man can fly, or that
Right.
dinosaurs have been like genetically engineered, or that the toys in your toy box wake up every night and are just running around your house amok.
Right.
And like that's the beauty of movies. And this movie and this whole plot is just so good from beginning to end. Like the opening of Andy's room, like we've all been there. Any little kid has been there with their toys, cardboard boxes that they're doing their own little drawings and stuff on it. They're not spelling words right, but that don't matter. They're in their own little world of imagination and playtime. And literally the opening moments of this movie forever is just like changed, because it's like I did that. Like right as a kid, you're like, I do that. I do that
Right.
now. Like,
Yeah.
and like now it's even better seeing this, or at least it's like a whole nother layer of seeing this, and definitely part of like the Disney like machine of like keeping things together. It's like, I'm sure this is my kid now, like like we're fathers now. So like 30
Right.
years later now, we're also being like, isn't this so cool? You do this, like you do that with your toys, like with your little Power Rangers and Spider Men toys and stuff. You do this now. It's awesome to see.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. Did I watch my kid just turned 2 a few months ago, and so like he's getting to that point where his imagination is really starting to come out. And so like I'll just kind of watch him play with action figures, and he just makes little squealing sounds, and they're like climbing and riding things, and it's just like, what's going through your head? What are you thinking about there? Whatever you're doing, you're having so much fun, and it just reminds me of being a kid. And you're right, there's something about when you're younger and you watch this movie and you just identify immediately with like the sacredness of playtime, right? I mean, like playing with your toys like that. It creates a whole new world inside of like that safe space, which is the room that you play with your toys in, right? So it's just it's a beautiful thing to see our kids do it, and to be that age and identify with it, I think is really important. I think that's why it probably affects you and I so much, is because we were 7 years old when that movie came out, right? So we were Andy's age, and so we've always been Andy's age. And I mean, I know that we're not talking about each of the other Toy Stories, but when Toy Story 3 came out, that movie had a profound impact on me, man. Like I got really emotional at the end of that movie, because I felt like I was Andy at the same time. Like there was this point in the movie where watching that movie in the theater, there was a turning point. There was like, oh, I kind of stepped more into adulthood when I left that movie, because so did
yeah,
Andy. It was
yeah.
it was really, really impactful. And so I got goosebumps because I love Toy Story so much.
Toy Story is so great. And the other thing about, like you said, that this is a movie that they also, like, the creators and stuff kind of wanted to make for both, like, that kids will obviously enjoy, but that like parents aren't just like, nowadays, like back in the 90s, you didn't have cell phones that you could be like scrolling on, like TikTok, tweeting, whatever, Instagramming, whatever it is. Like you had to just sit there and suck it up with your kid in a bad movie. But that's where you get, like, as you grow up, you also see this movie differently. Because as an adult, like I still have the nostalgia of like being Andy and playing with the toys. But man, all of those toys are in like a bureaucracy of like a job, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
like, like it was definitely something watching it this time. Reading the book that we'll get into a little bit more that you talk about, because like they talk about that, and in the commentary track, they're like, yeah, these toys, like, this is their job. This is what they do. Like, we see a staff meeting, my guy, like with these toys. And it's just one of those things where I'm sure as an adult, they're like, wow, this is mundane, but like, fuck, can I relate to that? Like,
Right,
that
right.
makes sense.
It's
You
literally the first order of business. When they wake up, the first order of business is to put a committee meeting together. It's not lost on I think a lot of the parents of it just being like, oh man, even these toys, they have a daily grind, right?
right? They have the daily grind. Okay, moving buddy. Don't have one, get one. Oh, and Andy's party has been moved to today. And then we get the whole freak out and we get I love one of my favorite things that they do here is an adult gag joke is with Don Rickles and Mr. Potato Head. Like,
Yes.
forever one of the single greatest castings to ever be made. Like, he has been making me laugh for so long, and it's like that's my 7-year-old introduction to Don Rickles is Mr. Potato Head. Not the comedic genius that he was for, I don't know, like 30, 40 years before that or whatever.
Mhm.
Not any of that. But they give him his iconic line that everybody would know from his stand-up is, shut up, you hockey puck. Like, you get that. You get him taking his lips off, kissing his butt with it when Slinky Dog is just like, oh yeah, Woody says it'll be fine. It'll all be fine. Jim Barney showing up, Ernest. Love it. And
I love it,
obviously we
man.
haven't even talked about Tom Hanks yet as Woody. Like,
I know.
one of the most iconic runs ever for an actor during this time, right? Like, I mean, Tom Hanks is just cooking. Like,
Yeah, he owned the '90s, man, and from dramatic stuff to comedy, and I mean, my favorite character is Woody, and it's because of the heart that Tom Hanks
yeah.
instills into that character. That Tom Hanks, he's America's dad for a reason, you know.
I mean, one of the best things is when he shows up in the Simpsons movie and he's like, hey, it's Tom Hanks, America's dad. I'm lending them some of my credibility because, America doesn't have any right now, or whatever. Springfield doesn't have any right now, whatever the
You know, I
line
remember
is. And
that.
like, it's still, it's so true because it was true in the movie, but it's still so funny to hear. And it's absolutely like, Woody's probably my favorite character too. I think I like the friendship and connection that Woody and Buzz get is just so great. Um, I love the I love the rest of the toys and how they set up everything. Even like from the recon, like down there with the military, and you get who is that? Arlie, like Emery or whatever
Hmm.
from like Full Metal Jacket and stuff. Like, he's also in Saving Silverman and so many other things, but he's always that like army tough guy and perfect as Sarge. It's
Yeah,
the Green Army Man. Like, is uh, I mean, I don't know if there's even a better like casting short of like Tom Hanks as Woody, Tim Allen as Buzz that we get to later on. I don't know if there's a better like character, just a little bit who shows up, like, and it's just like swinging, batting 1,000 here. He's great.
well, I mean, the a lot of that just worked out the way that I guess it needed to in the long run. When they first started doing Toy Story, Woody in the first treatments was like a real jerk. Like he was like super cynical. He was very mean spirited, and like Tom Hanks even said that he like hated recording the voice because he's just like this guy's so mean. So they had to rework everything for Toy Story. Like the Toy Story that we have is not at all the Toy Story that they originally started making. It's completely different. They scrapped the original movie entirely after a terrible screening, and so what we have today is a result of them thinking they were making the right thing, casting the right people in it, but finding out like actually what we're doing isn't working. We got to go back to the drawing board. How do we figure this out? And I'm sure we'll touch on it. There's a whole book that kind of explains how Pixar made that string of amazing movies. It's because they stuck to a format. You know what I mean? And they've got that format through failing miserably when they first started out with Toy Story, and then we ended up having this heartwarming Woody that we have through Tom Hanks. It was always going to be Tom Hanks, but originally he was going to be a jerk. But luckily, we got the Woody we have now.
Right? Name drop that book.
It's called Creativity Inc., and it's by Ed Catmull. He's one of the founding members of Pixar. I have a copy of it right here.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's known really much, or it's known as a very good business book, but it also tells like the true story behind Pixar, how they got up and running, and very specifically goes into detail about how Toy Story came about and why it is what it is today. And it is what it is today because of the way they ended up having to make it. So like the story behind the story is very fascinating and actually adds to why I find it so heartwarming.
Right, because like I mean, one of the things we can talk about that we can say from this is because like you put it into the notes and everything, and you even touched on it, like they rewrite Woody's character and they rewrite a whole bunch of things of like kind of the heartwarming things that they really want. And they do this after that screening. Now they have a name for that screening. What's the name that they call that screening?
They call that screening the Black Friday screening. So they did that in like November of '93. And they did like the first half of what they had done. They did it for the Disney execs, and the execs decided that it was just like a dark, completely joyless, mean spirited, heartless movie, and they shut down production. They said that they were just going to kill the movie entirely. So there's a core four of creatives. That's John Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, and then John Ramps. They decided to kind of create like a brain trust, and they put themselves together in a room, and they decided to not make the movie that Disney wanted them to make, but make the movie that they wanted to make. And so essentially what they did is they sat down and they made Woody relatable by making his jealousy a relatable piece of him. And so that's what really ended up giving the movie the heart. They created this thing that's called the Pixar Brain Trust, and they developed a way of channeling their creativity and putting it into like a viable product, which is eventually the movies that they were putting out. And it all comes from having a disastrous screening at the Black Friday screening and having to completely rework everything from the ground up. They really only had a few weeks to do it. They came back with the new story, and that's the Toy Story we have now.
And that's one of those things, like I love hearing that story because like in the end the crazy thing is that they listened to Disney on all of the execs notes up until that Black Friday screening, doing the changes that Disney wants and like
Right.
that like Jeffrey Katzenberg and stuff wants. And then finally they're just like, you know what, give us whatever it is, 2 weeks, a month, whatever they get, just let us deliver the movie we originally like were pitching you guys that we actually wanted to make. Just let us show you some mock-up and like some stuff of it, and like let's just let you see it and see what happens. And obviously it's like the right thing to do. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, you hear this story about Toy Story, and then me being a fan and like being a fan of like Edgar Wright and stuff, I'm just always wondering, like, I mean, we get the answer of what happened to Edgar Wright and why he doesn't make Ant-Man, but like it's always one of those things where it's just like, why, why couldn't this happen? Why
Right,
didn't
right.
this happen? But in this case, in Toy Story's case, the they it's insane that you hear that these creatives were like taking these executive notes and not trying to like really fight back on it. They were like, all right, if this is what you guys like really want, like we can deliver it.
I
It
mean, it
may
was their
not
first
work, but
feature. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
what leverage do you have? I'm assuming, I mean, I don't know. I don't make movies, but I would assume that, if you are making your first feature for Disney, then you have to take their notes pretty seriously, is what I would think. And so, yeah, I think it took a lot of courage for them to be like, all right, if they're going to shut us down, give us a few weeks, let us come back with something new. And, they come back with just a bona fide masterpiece and classic that will live on far longer than any of us.
right? I mean, this movie is just so, and then even the music that goes through like the different
Mhm.
changes, like the strange things are happening montage, like after like Andy's party and the opening of the presents and everything, and leading into like Woody and Buzz like kind of doing their macho man showdown and whatnot, getting in each other's business and stuff. Like, ah man, I love it because it's almost on the level of Woody and Buzz. There are almost on the level of like not necessarily bullies, but on like sibling rivals.
Mhm.
It's like a sibling rivalry there, and it's something that I just love to see. I just love to see
Yeah,
it and all of that.
it becomes
Um,
like more and more like a sibling relationship too. Like it's um, like the platonic friendship and love that they have for each other only grows, and actually it becomes less and less of a plot point for the movies as they go on. Like the movies are not very much about Woody and Buzz by the time we get to like four. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they're barely in it together at all at that point. Um, but for this one, it was about strangers coming together and finding sometimes if you find somebody that's the opposite of you, it might bring out the strengths in you too. I mean, this movie explains so much about friendship at like, and when you're 7 years old and you watch it, it does a lot because when I was really little, my best friends were my toys, right? Like I have
yeah.
a teddy bear. His name is Bear Bear. He's currently right now. He's sleeping in my kid's crib with him right now. So like that was my Woody when I was growing up. You know what I mean? And the toys being your best friends, and then watching a movie about toys becoming best friends is it's powerful stuff. Silly stuff, but powerful for a 7 year old, and I guess supposedly a 37-year-old man too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like the one thing too that I will say that has always blown me away about this movie is how zippy it is. This movie
Yeah.
is what 82 minutes, 85 minutes long, so like, an hour and 20ish minutes. And like even here, like after the strange things is happening, so we get the Woody versus Buzz, we get the Sid intro, we got Buzz out the window, and then we've got the gas station and like the pizza delivery car, and then bam, we're at Pizza Planet, which is like almost like basically the start of like that second act, almost
Hmm.
kind of like they're kind of lost. So maybe out the window is kind of that, and then they're kind of getting there. But like the next big thing, unless there's something like, I mean, I do love the introduction to Combat Carl, and and I think it's like I forget who it is, but somebody's like, "Oh, it's a Combat Carl." I don't know if it's like Woody who says that or if it's somebody else, but whoever, and it's not Bo though, but it's like whoever says it, it just gives this like really warm, like, "Oh, it's a
Yeah.
Combat Carl," and like I just love that line. I don't know why, but like
There are
yes,
certain line readings in this movie that just really stick out. Like you said, they cast all the right people, and the dialogue in it, some of it is just so witty and sharp and just delivered perfectly. You had touched on, Don Rickles' Potato Head, dude. Every line out of Potato Head's mouth is just like pure gold. But there are lines that from Potato Head that like I use like in my day to day life. Like, what are you looking at, you hockey puck? Or
yeah.
my favorite is who invited that kid when they're talking about the kid that got him bed sheets. Like
Yeah,
I roll over laughing at that still. I use that all the time. Who invited that kid? So funny.
it's so good. It's always awesome. And then we get like the Pizza Planet stuff. And Pizza
Yep.
Planet is another thing that is again like filled with Easter eggs, other movies and whatnot, like the Whack-A Alien is like the homage to Alien with the chest busters and stuff. The close encounters in the like little green alien men, like
Hmm.
Rocket Ship and like their leader and all that kind of stuff. It's just like even like the Centurion kind of like night things, like even that's even like almost reminiscent of like the you could even call those like the Gamorrean guards almost in like Star Wars and stuff of
Hmm.
like Return of the Jedi and things like having that kind of stuff all there. I just love it. Like Pizza Planet is just such a fun place to be in there. And
Hmm.
they're running around. Woody is, like, oh yeah, I found it's got hyperactive hyperdrive and stuff like that. Still makes me laugh. No, he has been chosen. You must let him go and stuff
It's
like the
great
little
stuff, dude. Pizza Planet's. I wish Pizza Planet was real. I remember when I was younger, like I'd asked my mom, I was like, "Could we go to Pizza Planet?" She's like, "It's not a real restaurant, man."
Yeah,
That was a tough pill to swallow.
it really was because like I love toys and I love pizza, and I was 7 years old, and you're telling me this place ain't real? What's going on here? Yeah, that was a big L for me too. Not happy about that. Not having a real Pizza Planet anywhere to go to. Uh, then we enter. So we go from like the crazy neon light show that is Pizza Planet to then the black hole abyss that is Sid's house,
Hmm.
of where toys go to die or get blown into bits, if you will. And it's so funny listening to like the special features of like all of the creators and stuff, and they're like, but Sid's not like, I was like, I've never strapped an M80 to any one of my toys. Like, I can tell you that. I never did that as a kid. Did I play hard with my toys? For sure. I have scuff marks on my toys. Like, there are pieces missing from my toys. There are no question about that. But I strap M80s to blow them up? No. I think Sid goes a little too hard in the paint.
Oh,
if you will.
well, if
If
I
you
had
will.
access to M80s, I promise you, I would have been blowing up all sorts of toys. Not my favorites, but I could relate to Sid on that point. I think Sid's a little bit misunderstood.
So like I get the the like the scene in his room where he like uses the magnifying glass to like burn like Woody. That makes sense because they literally like teach you that in science class. Like I
Right.
remember that in like learning that in like first grade that you could do things like that. So
Yeah,
like I
start
could
fires.
yeah, pretty much. And then they wonder why, but you got Smokey the Bear telling you not to do it, so like I don't want to get mauled by a
Well,
bear. So,
forest fires, I mean, I
yeah.
digress. Go on.
But this whole thing in Sid's house is just awesome because we get a whole we the movie has all been so like kind of happy go lucky, and the first like real horror is them being lost. Like
Right.
I'm a lost toy. Like Woody getting down on his knee and like I'm a lost toy. Ah! And but the thing being worse than a lost toy is being a toy at Sid's house.
Right.
um,
And
and
that's
I
interesting, actually, because like you were saying, this movie it clips along, right? It's like
yeah
it's an 80 something minute long movie, but the set pieces and like the way that like the world grows and then shrinks again, it's like it start off and you're just in the room, right? And then the recon mission happens. So then the whole house all of a sudden it's like, okay, that's where it is. And then we get knocked out the window. You see that Sid is next door. So it's
yep
like, okay, we see outside of the house is not safe because outside of the house next door that's Sid's house, and if you go anywhere outside of the house that's where you're going to end up. You're going to end up like Combat Carl. So then when Buzz gets knocked out and then the world has to get even bigger, they hop in the car, they go to the gas station, and then they go to Pizza Planet. Like the world gets really big, and they do all of that stuff in like the first like 30 something minutes of the movie. I think they
mm-hmm.
hit all these places and then only to come back even closer to end up at Sid's house. So like you end up at Sid's house, the world got bigger, but now like you're next door, but even you're more scared next door than you were when you were lost because
yeah
you know what happens to toys at Sid's house.
mm-hmm.
It's just crazy. This movie does such a good job of putting you in one place, throwing you out of it, a fish out of water, and then all of a sudden bringing you back home close where like home is just out of reach, and it's even scarier. Like Sid's house is the turning point for this movie. You know what I mean?
Yes, It absolutely is, because I mean, it opens up the world in a whole new way for them too. Like, aside from the horror of what they know, but then
Right.
there's the stuff that they don't know about Sid's house. Like, they
Right.
don't know about Hannah and her toys, or even the toys that Sid has actually rebuilt that they like very ignorantly call cannibals. Like, ah, they're cannibals, they're gonna eat us. like it's funny, but it's like like it is just showing, though, that again, those fish out of water, they're not in that safe place. They're so close they can almost taste Andy's room. And for Woody, that's the end all be all. Like, Buzz
Right.
doesn't even really care about getting back to Andy's room. He wants to get back to Andy's room truly up at this point of being at with Woody and in Sid's room. He just wants to get back to Andy's room so that he can get back on his spaceship and fly
Right.
away,
Right.
because Buzz's world hasn't come crashing down
Right.
yet. And that, I mean, this might be the best time to talk about Buzz and his crash out.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And it's great. Tim Allen gives like truly an amazing performance during like all of this, like of like the misses when he actually like you got the Randy Newman song and he's like, no, I'm gonna fly if I wanted to, as he's climbing up the little like thing and he dives off and then he starts to fall. He turns over and then is like falling like face first and down, and then his arm gets knocked out, and he becomes Mrs. Nesbit.
Just sucking down Darjeeling with Mary Antoinette and her little sister. I mean, that's rock bottom, and
Yeah.
it's tough. I mean, it's that scene is powerful in a lot of ways. I remember when I was like young watching that scene and it impacting me. And as you get older, it makes even more sense because like there's this crushing feeling of like everything that Buzz believes to be true ends up just being a complete lie. And he's shattered, he's alone, he's in a place that's unfamiliar. All of a sudden, everything's unfamiliar to him because everything he believed turned out to be a lie. And then you have Woody coming in, and of all people, Woody is the one that does end up lifting him up. You know what I mean? More so to try to get back to Andy's room next door, but by finding Buzz like in that like vulnerable position, that's when they're able to be real with each other, and you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Like the truth comes through that kind of vulnerability, and Buzz needed that reality check. And sometimes we all need that reality check, but to have such a harsh one and then to be alone with it, sometimes you don't come out of that, And so that's again, the power of friendship is like what this movie is all about. And it's Buzz wouldn't have been able to snap out of that if it weren't for Woody, and Woody wouldn't have been able to get home if it weren't for Buzz. So,
Yep.
We need each other sometimes.
Absolutely. And it's just so good because, like, seeing that commercial, not a flying toy, like he shattered.
Yeah.
It literally, like, both mentally and then physically after
Right.
it, like he's literally shattered rock bottom, all of it. And when Woody, and despite him being shattered and being like, he gets his arm put back together by like Sid's toys at this point, and they're like on the table now. But like when Woody then is like, man, you've got the lights, you've got the wings, you've got the karate chop action. Like, why your helmet does that whoosh thing? Why would Andy ever want to play with me? And
Mm-hmm.
it's that line and that speech that changes it all for all of them. That's the point of where then Buzz starts becoming Woody's savior as opposed to Woody trying to save Buzz so that Woody can just save himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's that like moment again in your darkest place, in the darkest crevice of time, when you're at your loneliest, like you find this connection here. And this is a movie about toys being sentient and
Yeah.
hiding from humans.
Yeah.
Like, my God, tell me animation is a fluke of a film genre and I will show you Toy Story every single time and
Yep.
ask you, are you sure? Are you sure? um, and yeah, I mean, it goes without saying then the rest of this movie is just insane with the gag of Woody holding Buzz's hand and being like,
Oh,
"Oh, hi, Woody, you're my best friend." Yada, yada. And they're like, "What are you trying to pull here?" Nothing.
one of my favorite line readings is that like what are you trying to pull? It's great
Nothing.
stuff. Great stuff.
It is so funny, and then like all the horror that everyone has and stuff, but the game plan of breaking out of Sid's house, we're gonna have to break a few rules here as well, and like the setup to getting out to Sid's house. What what did that make you feel like rewatching it? If you can remember from the first time,
Mm-hmm.
any of that, like because for me, this is where I'm like, yeah, let's get going.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's not really an action movie until like that final set piece, and like that's where the reason that it's so exciting is because you spent your entire time just connecting with these characters, right? So like the reason that like the ending of escaping Sid's house and getting onto the moving truck and getting the other toys to help revolt against him and everything, all of that has that impact because you've fallen in love with Woody and Buzz, and now that they've decided to be together, like to team up together, like you are so committed to the outcome of whatever is going to happen here. Like you are so invested in them getting back to Andy. And so yeah, that part is it's riveting. You know, the I was a little freaked out by the Andy's other toys or the like the mutant toys that he created. And
Mhm.
when Woody spins his head around and he says, "And play nice," like that's objectively unsettling. You know, like it's
It really
it could
is.
be funny, but like it's a if I were Sid, dude, like that kid is not okay today. You know,
No, he's
he
not.
had to go through a lot of therapy, telling people that toys were alive and
Yeah.
that you know they scared him the way that they did. Um, again, that's why I say Sid, he was a troubled young man. I'm not sure if he deserved the lifetime of haunting that I'm sure resulted from this. Although I think there's an Easter egg where he's a garbage man in one of the sequels.
It's in 3 or 4, but yeah,
Yeah,
you see an older gentleman or like a guy who would be in his like 20s or whatever, around Andy's age, with a skull shirt on, and that's
yeah.
the
So that's it. You
assumption.
know, he's gainfully employed, so you know at least he's able to do that. So that's good.
Right? And then this the final chase back to the car,
Yep.
back to Andy's, like the moving van and stuff, is when Woody takes RC out of the box and tosses him out there. And he's like, "Oh no, he's doing it again!"
Potato, like Woody's my favorite. Potato Head is the MVP of at least Toy Story 1, dude. Every line he gives is perfect.
The incredible line readings,
Yeah.
incredible. They're just so good. I love Slinky Dog being so stretched out. It is one of the craziest things that you ever see. But like to no Slinky would ever last that long in their dog form or not.
No.
And to this day, I just love it. I'm just so here for it. I've always wanted to have an RC car, try and race back up to a car with two toys on it to try and make sure they can get back to me. I've always wanted to do this. Never have done it. I don't know why. I can buy an RC car and do this totally. But it's one of those things that I've always wanted to do, never done. I love this sequence though, like because it
Yeah.
is just so full of folly, and it also gives you the up and down of their relationship also really quickly too, of like
Hmm.
they kind of get slammed in there, they get RC and Slinky back in there, and then they're down in the dumps by themselves with their people going away so close they could almost taste it, and then Woody's hand starts to burn and he's like, becomes the Human Torch. No, that's a lie. But he kind of does. You know,
Mhm.
he lights the rocket. And again, one of the other best line readings ever is Tom Hanks as Woody being like, "I just lit a rocket, and rockets explode."
Right.
Like, this movie is all over the place with these great lines and stuff. But then, like, we get our happy little ending. Rocket explodes, Buzz hits his wings, and he becomes a flying toy. Like,
Mhm.
we get that for him as well. You know,
Right.
you get the flying with his eyes closed, sorta, the literal falling apart, and then this, the one that matters when you got your buddy in hand to save him, to save
Yep.
yourself and him and the day. And the classic line of like, "Mom, I found my toys. They were right here in the car."
Yeah.
Something every kid has lost a toy for sure. And their mom has absolutely told them, "Well, you just need to look harder," and stuff. Like, we've all been there.
I mean, I have those conversations like still with my wife, not about toys, but just about everyday items. I'm just like, "Where's this thing?" She's like, "It's where you left it." And I'm like, "Where's that?" "I don't know. Look there." "Okay, that's where it is." Happens all the time.
Too funny.
And another thing I thought of, when you were saying with Woody lighting the rocket, you know, uh, great storytelling technique is, the only reason that Woody knows how to light that with Buzz's uh, head shield is because he got the hole burned in his head from the magnifying glass. So it's like Woody learned that through his own pain of how to light that.
Right. And then obviously we get the wonderful little Christmas recon again. They're in their new
Yeah,
house. And who also doesn't love a wonderful like Christmas story too? Like Christmas time, winter time, and all that getting together. I mean, Toy Story just rocks, man.
it does. Beginning
The
to end.
beginning to end, the plot is just zippy. Everything just rules. So we've talked a little bit about some of our favorites along the way. Like, we've talked about Woody being probably the favorite character. I think there's no lying that Potato Head has probably some of the best lines in there. The one other line that I just love that's really early on in the movie is Bo when she's walking away from Woody and she's just like, "I'm just a couple of blocks away," and you see the like actual spelling block. Yeah, it's just, I just love it so much. It has
Yeah,
been a joke that like I have just been laughing at, and it's the exact kind of like Zucker brother, like Jim Abrams, like
yeah,
airplane, like airplane naked gun kind of humor that they would do and stuff. And I'm just like,
yeah. Good wordplay
um,
with it, and then the innuendo between Woody and Bo Peep is
is really
palpable.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of my other Buzz has a really good line. Again, like there are pieces of like Toy Story that I feel like I just like infuse into my daily life. And he's like, "You are a sad and strange little man, and you have my sympathy." Or no, you have my pity. You have my pity.
Yeah.
That's the line. That's a great one. Uh, yeah, dude. A lot of really great lines. I think most of them attributed to Potato Head, though. He has the best line from the whole movie for sure.
I agree. Do you have, like, we talked about some set pieces and scenes. Do you have like an overall favorite one or
Yeah, yeah, the recon mission at the beginning of the movie. I think that's definitely my favorite. It establishes the whole world. It sets the whole tone of the movie. You know what I mean? That's where you realize like these toys are alive. They're not children. Like these are like fully grown and formed sentient beings.
Mhm.
And it just kind of highlights the cleverness of the writing. You have the Green Army men that are on a recon mission. You're using the baby monitor as walkie talkies. You're using a jump rope to rappel down. Lenny, the walking binoculars. So it's just like they're using themselves, which are their tools at their own disposal. So like I think that's super clever. That's where it really introduces the personalities of all of the different toy characters, and it builds up a lot of suspense. Like the music in particular for that whole recon sequence. just sticks with me. The
Yeah.
soundtrack to this movie, both the Randy Newman stuff, but also the film score, like
Yeah.
resonate with me. I don't know, it's a very impactful part. I think music is like one of the strongest uh, aspects of filmmaking, and so like a really good score to complement the story that's going on, uh, can't get better than that.
Right. Um,
What about you?
and
What's your favorite scene?
my favorite scene, I think I love the, I really love the end escape of Sid's house from the point
Oh,
of like where they're like, wind the frog, and they release it out, like to where then like through the end of like Woody's head spin, because that's like my biggest nightmare is that the toys that I have loved forever, I have wronged them, and then they're gonna Chucky me in the middle of the night or something. Yeah, I want no
okay.
part of that. I want
Fair,
no part of
fair.
that.
Neither do I.
So
Fair.
so for me, there's the whole like, whoa, respect your toys and your things. And honestly, I think this movie totally like changed even the way I do that, because like I'll lend people like even individual comics and stuff, but I'll lend it to people with it in a bag and board. I will take care of my stuff. Like I will make sure that like, yes, I will let you borrow this. Yes, I'm going to put it in a bag and board. Yes, I'm going to put a protective case around this for you to like look at it because I don't want it ruined. Um,
Right.
so I think it kind of made me a little like even OCD like that with my things, might be the only negative thing that this movie has ever given me. But like, hey, I take better care of my stuff now
Oh, there you
than
go.
I did as a 7 year old,
That's not all bad.
right? But Easter egg. Um, did you have a favorite Easter egg that you saw? Like anything from like the Pizza Planet with like the alien sci-fi stuff or anything like that?
Got two. I've
Yep.
got 7-year-old Matt's favorite Easter egg, and then adult Matt's favorite Easter egg.
Okay.
Adult Matt's favorite Easter egg is the carpet at Sid's house is the same
Yep.
carpet from The Shining.
Yep.
So that's one. And then the other one is the Binford tool box that's on top of the crate at Sid's house. Like I caught that when I was 7 because I loved Home Improvement and Binford. That's like the tool company from the show
Yep.
Home Improvement from the 90s. And so I remember when I was little, I was like, oh, Binford, like that's Home Improvement. So it kind of like introduced me to the idea of Easter eggs in movies. I was just like, oh, like does this take place in the same universe as Home Improvement? So Pixar does that. It has a pretty strong multiverse just from its Easter eggs.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, that's so awesome. I like. I don't know if I picked up on anything like the Binford thing is the only thing that I could think of that I probably would have noticed right away.
Right.
Like through like subsequent watches, like at 7 years old, was I like noticing the like similarities of like Buzz Lightyear's helmet and like Darth Vader's helmet? Probably not.
Right.
Was I maybe understanding that torture scene a little bit from like the, either kind of, like Indiana Joneses kind of stuff, because those movies were like around me then, but I wasn't like devouring them the same way that I would have been
Right.
like when we started becoming friends in like high school and stuff. So it's tough for me to like say anything like that. And then there's the obvious thing is like my parents or other people being like, oh yeah, that's this person, like when I would
Right. Yeah.
like Don Rickles as like Potato Head or whatever, being like, oh yeah, this person is that person, and then like kind of being like, oh, their voices and stuff, like
Right.
because
Right.
again, you're 7 years old, you don't really know the idea that like people can just talk for a job and make funny sounds with their mouth and like do voice recordings and all of that. I think now though, now we've talked about the movie, we've talked about some of our favorite things that we've liked about it. I think let's start talking about Toy Story and the impact that it's kind of had on film. We've talked about it on our lives, but this movie, just on the impact of film in 1995, it's nominated for 3 Oscars.
Not enough.
I agree. Best original score, or original score, original song, and best original screenplay, which is crazy to think about because
Did it
all
win
of
any of
the
those?
it didn't. The only
Okay.
Oscar it won that year was a special achievement Oscar because it was the first CGI'd computer
Oh.
animated movie ever. So they got the special achievement Oscar in that, and then the best animated feature Oscar doesn't happen until 2001, and that is the Battle of the Behemoths, Shrek versus Monsters Inc. Who will win? And Shrek won.
Shrek definitely has like the stronger cultural impact. So like I can get that. Shrek, I think, is a stronger cultural touchstone, but I think Monsters Inc. is a far better movie than Shrek. So the Oscars don't always get it right. I feel like they created that uh, best animated Oscar almost in part because Toy Story came out and they just started banging out great animated movies. There was probably also like this debate between is does computer animation also count as like regular animation? You know, anytime something new comes
Right.
out, it's people are like, oh, is that legitimately what it claims to be? And then everything started to become computer animated, like hand drawn animated films started to really kind of go by the wayside for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think Toy Story probably had a big part in them even creating that category in the Oscars.
Without a doubt. I don't think we actually ever get a best anime. I mean, we may like later in life, like it may even have been up until Flow now, like last year, that
Right.
one like something that was even more simplistic than like Toy Story and how it was made, but was still like beautifully done and rendered. Flow was like one of the best movies of 2024. That movie I just fucking rocked.
I didn't catch that
Um,
one.
oh my gosh, it's so good. It's again, dude, 85 minutes long.
Love it. Sweet 85. I love it.
It is so good. No dialogue, just animals. Flow, beautiful, beautiful. But so this wins 3 Oscars, or is nominated for 3 Oscars, um, gets the special Oscar for achievement in animating film, and it starts off one of the craziest runs that any studio has had of Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, and The Incredibles. Let's
Yep.
just call it. We can stop it at 2004 right there. But there's obviously Cars. There's Ratatouille, Wall-E, Up. Like
I
Up.
feel like Cars was like a palate cleanser in a way. Like Cars is fine. But then like, dude, when you get to Ratatouille, Wally, Up, and Toy Story 3, like those are like legitimate. I think all of them are masterpieces, like beginning to end.
Yeah.
Toy Story 3, I think, is actually my favorite Toy Story movie out of all of them. Toy Story
Yeah.
1 is important, but I think Toy Story 3 is like deeply profound in a lot of different ways. And not just because like I was that age when I saw it, but like just in general, Toy Story 3 is a really impressive achievement. I think Toy Story 3 was even nominated for Best Picture.
It was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's nominated for Best Picture and Best Animated Feature that year. It won animated feature, but yeah, it was also nominated for possibly, I believe, a screenplay. It might have been adapted because it was a sequel at that point, so it couldn't
Right.
have been an original anymore.
Right.
And then obviously, like you'll always get like a score or a song or something with them as well, usually for
Right.
an animated film, just on how they try and do it. So you talked about Good Dinosaur being like the objectively bad movie, possibly from Pixar. I would say my least favorite movies. I would actually put Cars and Cars 2 like below that. I'm just uninterested in those movies, unfortunately. They've never like stuck in my mind
I,
that
I,
well.
I agree. I'm uninterested in the Cars movies. I just don't really care for them. I just think again, this is 10 years removed, but I remember
Yeah.
seeing The Good Dinosaur and being like, why did they make that movie? Like
That's
it's a
fair.
It's just like it just felt like nobody's heart was in it. The movie lacks heart, in my opinion. It's just like it
Yeah.
looks like they had a deadline to meet and they made it. That's how that
It,
movie feels. Yeah.
yeah. But they go on and like, yeah. So even through 95, that those 15 years,
Yeah.
95 to 2010, let's even call it. Cars, like if Cars is your worst movie from 95 to 2010, like what are we
Right.
talking about here?
Exactly.
Like what anybody would love to have a track record like that over
Yeah.
15 years because
And
Cars
the
doesn't even
reason they have it,
derail the whole thing. Like that's the thing. Like it doesn't even derail the studio. It's like
it's Cars isn't even that bad. It's
no,
just
it's
not
not.
our cup of tea. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Cars is extremely popular. There's three of
It,
those movies and like
exactly.
countless like spin-off things, right? So very
They have theme
successful.
park rides and
Right.
everything over in Disneyland and stuff for Cars. So yeah, we're probably the weird ones that we haven't connected to it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But
Fine,
hey,
I'll be the weird one. And you're right. If that's the low point in, your 15-year span, then you're doing something right. And
yeah,
that Creativity Inc. book like dives into all of that in like great detail. Like you want to know why Pixar had been so successful for that long run. It's like read Creativity Inc. Man, like they set out a very simple playbook, which is basically just like you give each other candid feedback, you diagnose things, but you do not prescribe the solution to it. So you're just
right.
like, hey, this isn't working. I'm not telling you how to fix it, but just so you know, it's not working. And then you just don't have any clear authority. Everybody's opinion matters, and like that kind of group think is that's the brain trust of Pixar, and that's what gave us all of those classic movies. I mean, and even still today, like they're not all home runs, but they still have it in them. You know what I mean? Like Inside Out was fantastic. I loved Coco. Admittedly, I'm a little bit behind on Pixar movies now, but they do keep churning out really good ones
Dude,
every few years.
Turning Red is still was still amazing. Let's see. Elio was really cool. I'm trying to think about the Italian fish one.
Yeah, these are all movies I have not seen. Yeah,
Luca. Luca
haven't seen it.
was
Yeah,
a lot of fun. Turning Red was awesome. Like
yeah,
like honestly of the like pandemic-y era kind of Pixar movies that came out, without a doubt, Turning Red was my favorite. Like
cool.
it was true, pure, almost like classic Pixar in that sense that it's just so centered and so focused on the story that it wants to tell that it just knows what it's doing the
Yeah,
entire time. It wants to tell a story about a 13-year-old girl made by a woman, and it's great because it all makes sense. Like from
right.
top to bottom, it makes sense, and then you throw in the like cultural backgrounds that they do in Turning Red of having her be be Chinese and living in Toronto and having a and all of this stuff there and having like the red panda and like mythology with it. It's great. Turning Red. Watch it. 10 out of
I
10
will.
recommend. Um
Right.
without a doubt, it was really good. I loved it. My daughter loves it. It's great. But now you bring up Creativity Inc. So Creativity Inc. is that book that you showed us earlier. Um, lays out the playbook of how Pixar was so successful. I'm currently listening to the audiobook, which is read by Ed, the guy who wrote it, and it's a great listen. Got about 6 hours left. It's a long audiobook. It's like a good like 16-20 hour audiobook or something.
Yeah, it's a thick book. Yeah.
And but I gotta say, just from the little bits that I've read about it, it is so cool because he really does tell you almost every aspect of what goes into making a film and a studio in every direction, from like the producing people, like the money people, to
Hmm.
like the people that actually are writing the ones and zeros of the code of the programs that allow then the animators to make the assets, the backgrounds, the bushes, the trees, and everything in between, and all of the computer science that goes into that, which is something that as a guy, as myself, as me and you, we grew up like figuring out, like tickle our brains, tell us how this
Right.
stuff works, like how did this get made? And it's just such a great read on that.
Yeah. I mean,
So if you love filmmaking, if you want to know about, like, if you're passionate about film but almost don't even know, like, I don't think I can be a writer, or I don't think I can be that, read this book, because you might find out that you're better equipped for some of this stuff than you probably ever thought or gave yourself
yeah.
credit for. It's really inspiring, actually, if
Yeah,
I'm being
dude.
honest. It was really cool. Like the story, the Black Friday screening story of them like taking the notes is like, it is truly a wild story of
Yeah.
creatives being like, we're going to take these notes, we're going to do your notes, we know these notes are wrong and are actually hurting the project, but like, we're going to do it, and we're going to show you, and like, just being like, we know this is wrong, but we can't argue yet because
Hmm.
we're not proven. And then it's just like but the Steve Jobs of it all too is
Hmm.
wild, about like some of the things that he just made them do, like them going public. It's something crazy that nobody wanted them to do, but he was like, no, we need to stand on our own. And if we're going to renegotiate any of our deals at any point, we got to be able to come up with capital that way. And so we got to do this. And it's just like, oh my God, you're like, as a guy who was in like sales and stuff, like, it's like, I get that. I
Hmm.
understand the capital and trying to raise capital for an IPO and all that initial public offering. Um, it's crazy the amount of detail that they get into this stuff. And you brought this book to me. You've given a lot of great hit. Is there anything else about Creativity Inc. that you want to highlight, talk about, that you think we've missed, or that we should like put out in the lexicon for people?
I don't think so. I mean, I think, like you said, it's if you like if you like to know how movies are made, you said it great. It shows you how to make a movie and also build a studio at the exact same time. And not just a studio, but the same could be said for like any business. And that's why they use it in business classes. Like this is like a very well known book on business. And I think the biggest thing that I take away from it is like any movie to get any movie made is like a huge achievement, right? But
Right.
to make a movie that resonates like this and stands the test of time, like that's a minor miracle. And that's why we love movies like the way that we do, right? Like it's just like I love so many different movies, and the reason I love each one of those is there's a million stories that go behind that are behind the scenes of how that went from an idea to a screen that my eyes are just taking in, right? And that's why movies are the best, man. It's a great book that reminds you why movies can kick ass the way that they do, and why a lot of blood, sweat, and tears goes into getting those things done, even the bad ones.
Right.
Yeah,
Because nobody sets out to make a bad movie. Just, some circumstances just don't add up right sometimes.
I mean, not everything can be Toy Story.
Right. Not everything can be Toy Story. Now, Toy Story, man, 30 years later. We've talked about this a little bit, like us seeing it in our, for our birthday movies, and, as 7-year olds, and even bringing it to our families now, with our kids and everything. Um, One of the other things that I will say is that this is a movie in a franchise that I have literally just continually been handing down. I don't really say I consider it handing it down to my sisters. There's only 4 years between us, so even by the time like Toy Story 2 is out, they are 5 years old themselves, and we've got the second
Right.
Toy Story already. But my brother, who is 13 years younger than me, or I'm 13 years older than him, whatever. This was something that was like very early on too, that I was like I gave him Spider-Man and like Toy Story, and it was like, come follow me, son. Come follow us. And like Eddie, to this day, we still talk movies. We still go see movies. He's a part of Sibling Scream and stuff. Like it is something that like there's one thing that I've done to that kid is I was like, you be whatever you want to be, but you will like movies.
And he
You will
does,
like
man.
movies.
You did good, Jim. He's a
Right.
movie buff now. I love your relationship with your brother. I got to witness it from when he was really young and everything,
Yeah.
and I got to see when we worked at the video store together. You were like helping raise your little brother and introducing him to all this stuff all the time. And clearly it stuck because you guys are still doing podcasts about this stuff,
Yeah,
20
no.
years later.
Yeah.
You can't
20
keep
years.
calling him a kid, by the way. He's a man now, dude. He graduated college.
It's true. He's a real man. He's a real man. He's out of college. You know what? He graduated college, so yeah, he's no longer a kid. He's on his own. He's got his own apartment, his own real job. He pays his own like insurance and shit now. So yeah, he's a real boy.
He's in the system now, man. He's an adult. Treat him as such.
He is very much so a real adult. There is no denying that. But it's so nice to get these additional bites at this apple of
Yeah, yeah.
like because even with Eddie, we saw re-releases with him, like with
Oh
Toy
yeah.
Story for like, oh yeah, like I did the double feature 3D release of Toy Story 1 and 2. They did with a 10-minute intermission in between them. God, Eddie had to have been like 10 years old. So like that kid was sitting through like 3.5 hours worth of movies, but like we watched it in 3D, and that was one of the craziest experiences because I'd only actually ever seen Toy Story in normal regular 2D like display or whatever at the theater.
Hmm.
Seeing it in 3D actually changed almost the way that it looked. It added. I'm not a 3D guy. I usually don't like 3D. I think it's actually kind of distracting throughout most movies. That
Hmm.
unless it's like really like unless somebody's like I need to put 3D in my movie to add to the scale of it, like Alfonso Cuarón with Gravity. Saw Gravity in 3D. That was an incredible 3D experience.
Yeah.
Seeing Toy Story 1 and 2 in 3D was also an incredible experience because you think you're already like the room and the dimensions are already so big and so wide. But when you got that 3D feel of it, like I had never felt more transported to
Yeah.
miniature size in my entire life. And it like to this day it is very much so a movie going experience that like I'm like I don't like 3D usually, but I go to my Toy Story re-release in 3D and Gravity in 3D, and I'm like, if it's done right,
Right.
like 3D can be really cool and a really amazing expansion to a movie. Most of it's just a money grab, and I'm not about that.
Right.
But like sometimes it works and it's really cool. Like I don't know, go see an Avatar movie in 3D as well. Like James Cameron wants you to, so go see it that way. Like
Are they still doing those in 3D?
I believe so. IMAX
Okay.
3D is what they are now. Um,
Wild.
right. I just saw Predator Badlands in IMAX. That was really great. I love it. I really liked it. I think it got a PG-13 rating because the filmmakers were like, it the blood is green and white. It's not red. It's not real. So it's fine. We don't need an R. And I think it's like the Bob Weinstein going to the MPAA in 1996 for Scream being like it's a comedy. Don't give it an NC-17, and then the MPAA being like, oh yeah, it is kind of funny, and giving Scream an R. Like
It's
I don't
arbitrary,
understand.
man. It's
Like
crazy.
you see heads rolling Predator Badlands. You see arms going all over the place. Like it's crazy, and it's PG-13. It has to be because it's not right. Like it's the only thing that I can think of that it's like, yeah, they don't care. Whatever.
I
It'll
think
be
you're
fine.
right.
It's just so weird. And all of this to get back to Toy Story, which is like one of these first movies that like no
Great
no no
segue.
is Toy Story that has always piqued my interest of I've always been a defender of animation. I've always
Right.
thought animation has been what you can do a lot in there. You can tell a lot of stories. And it starts with things like Toy Story and Mask of the Phantasm are like two of my all-time like favorite animated films ever, and I still go back to them all the time because they tell just such great stories.
Hmm.
And each Toy Story and Mask of the Phantasm are two different animated movies trying to do two different like things with their animation and their stories and stuff, but they are both beautifully rendered
Hmm.
and amazing watches, and they still hold up today. I can tell you with certainty, I have watched both of those movies in theaters when they were released and within the last 10 years, and they still kick ass as a theater experience.
It's awesome.
And like, so Toy Story, 30 years later, is still killing it. Do you have anything else about the lasting 30 years of Toy Story on your life, your family's life, anything like that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's, I think I've touched on it a little bit. It's like, it, it taught me a lot about friendship in general. And so like that stuff that like 30 years later, there are like lessons that I learned from Toy Story about making friends, being a friend, and how there's like ebbs and flows to those kinds of relationships. So yeah, like 30 years later, like I would still say that like a core part of me and how I go about my life comes from Toy Story. So yeah, a huge impact 30 years later, like a tremendous one.
You got a friend in me. The meaning of friendship, the idea of friendship. I mean, you put that whole idea into our notes in here. That wasn't even something that I had even explored personally with myself of like, did Toy Story like have a major impact in the way that I look at friendships, like my friendships, how I make friends or anything like that? I don't even think that it ever like registered to me ever until like until I saw the outline and I was like, huh, yeah, yeah. That there's a lot of sense made there. There's a lot of good points and stuff. And it all comes from the movies. It
Yep.
all comes from people getting together, being like, we have a story we want to tell. Think it's going to resonate with people, so let's do it. Let's go chase that whimsy. Let's go run down, in the puddle and jump and see what we can make.
Yeah.
See where the water lands. See where the leaves fall and what we have to play with at our feet then. And that is like the beauty of movies. That is the beauty of animation. And that is like some of the beauty of Toy Story is
Yeah.
that it gives you all of this. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Um, and now we're gonna get a Toy Story 5. And that's like crazy to think about as well. That we'll be getting one of those, I think, in 2026 or 2027. I forget when they announced it. It's coming soon, though. It'll be within the next like couple of years, which is wild. It's wild.
That's
Because I don't agree with Quentin Tarantino. Like, I agree that the Toy Story trilogy is a perfect trilogy. I don't think that the fourth one ruins it, but I understand his point. You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
it, yeah, it changes it from a, a perfectly closed loop trilogy and expands it into just, like an ongoing franchise. Like I
Yeah.
get his point. Toy Story 3 to me is sacred, dude. Like I said,
Yeah.
it was a profound movie going experience. I walked into that movie one way and I walked out being like, oh my God, like I'm stepping out into the world more of an adult now.
Yeah.
So I get where he's coming from with it. I like Toy Story 4. But for me, like Toy Story 3 is still like this perfect little button on everything. And then Toy Story 4, it's it's an appendices, you know what I mean? It's an
Yeah.
additional adventure. I know it does bring things closer and like are further on with like Bonnie and stuff, but for me, Toy Story 1, 2, 3 is that's where it's at. With that being said though, Toy Story 5 is coming out, and I have a toddler. And so I'm about to have a whole new relationship with this kind of stuff because he's
Right?
just about the time that I'm going to be really introducing this stuff to him, probably the next year or so, like in earnest, instead of just putting it on in the background, but actually being
Yeah.
like, sit down, let's try to watch something. Toy Story is going to be one of the first ones that I really try to get him into.
It was one of the first ones I tried getting Sloan into, and let me tell you, it's an easy one for them to grab onto. So like
I
enjoy
bet.
that ride. Enjoy that ride. I've got one final story about Toy Story that I need to tell because it's one of the funniest stories that ever happened to Jessica and I. So in 2012, I graduate college and we go to Walt Disney World down in Florida. And down in Disney World, they have a little Pixar land. So obviously Woody, Buzz, the whole Andy's toy gang is down there. Well, Jessica, then we were dating. We are now married. But Jessica and I, and it is our turn on this vacation to be watching Eddie, my brother, who is currently 10 years old in 2012. To put that there, yeah. He is currently 10 years old then, and so we go and get a picture with Woody and Buzz. It's me and Jessica at first, or it's me and Jessica, and then Eddie was like, I don't know, just standing off to the side. He runs up, takes a picture, and then we walk away. No, me and Jess take a picture. Me and Eddie take a picture. We go to walk away. Woody and Buzz and the rest of the Disney people grab the three of us and bring us back to the picture place so that the family of me, Jessica, and Eddie can get our family photo, not realizing that we did go there together, but it was not he was not our child. That is my
Right.
brother, and it is forever one of the funniest stories that like one of the funniest things to ever happen. Of just people being like, "Oh yeah, it's your kid, sure, okay."
I'm
we
sure they
were,
make that mistake pretty frequently at Disney World. It's
I'm
like
sure
adults
they
and
do.
kids, you're the parents. Yeah.
It's so great. But with that, do you have any final thoughts on Toy Story before we go ahead and wrap up here?
No, just that I adore this movie. I appreciate you asking me to come and talk about it. Love talking movies with you, and I don't know. I don't think you knew that like this movie had like such a like a pivotal like place in my heart, but it really does. I've carried the lessons from this movie for 30 years now, and so it was nice to think back on it, rewatch it, and look at it through the lens of 7 year old me, you know, but also the critical eye that I was able to give it this time around. So just thanks for letting me talk about Toy Story, dude. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Always welcome back. Toy Story is still one of the best. If somehow you've been living under a rock for the last 30 years and haven't been able to see it, short of being a newborn in 2025, I don't know what you're doing. Go ahead and start watching Toy Story. It is one of the best out there. With that being said, I am Jimmy with the Triple C Collective. And with me is
Matt Murphy with Matt Murphy.
and we would like to thank you for joining us. Please like and subscribe to our video and to our channel. And we will see you in Andy's Toy Box next time.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.